love my sim racing. Some people think it's just a game, but it's not.
Sim racing?
Sim racing.
It's all about preparation, strategy as well, because when you're doing a 24-hour race around the Nordschleife, it's quite tough.
Max!
On the simulator, these guys are the benchmark.
I don't like driving a sim.
These sim drivers, they're so quick. You know, they because I want to win, whatever I do. I want to go not to look like an idiot, so...
This is Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen is a multiple-time Formula 1 Drivers' World Champion. Basically, he's the fastest racing driver in the world. But unlike every single Formula 1 World Champion before him, Max is a sim racer. And he is a proper, genuine, nutcase sim racer. And you can see here, he is often in the sim. And I've got footage in this video of Max Verstappen driving in simulators. I'm going to share with you the secrets of Max's speed. This is why he is the fastest racing driver in the world. Max Verstappen has cracked the formula of what he needs to do to be head and shoulders above everyone else in Formula 1. Because no other driver in Formula 1 takes their sim racing as seriously as Max. And because of the way Max trains in sim racing, he is electrifyingly quick and electrifyingly good at certain things, but he also is over the edge and has some fatal flaws. So as someone who has raced against Max Verstappen, I am going to give you the secret of why he is so fast, but also how you can beat him. Let's start off here with the way that Max Verstappen overtakes, and we're going to go through quite a few different driving techniques in this video, but I want to start with overtaking, and I want to also show you a big mistake that Max makes when he's doing his overtaking. Now what you can see here is Max essentially not wanting to deviate from his line at all when it comes to overtaking, and this is he's way more strict with this rule than any other Formula 1 driver I've ever raced with, and I've raced with quite a few now. So Max Verstappen, you can sense a frustration if you are in the way on this racing line. Why is this so useful? Max is very, very, very experienced at overtaking other cars in sim racing with the minimum possible deviation, and that means he's a very good overtaker in Formula 1. We know that if you go back to Abu Dhabi 2021 when Max Verstappen caught Lewis Hamilton napping, that was a move that maybe Lewis Hamilton didn't really expect at that corner. But I can tell you, Max Verstappen, you can just see the footage here, is practicing overtaking so many times, and I believe in a sim he's actually practicing often not really how close he can get to other cars, although he is getting very close. He's practicing how dominant he can be to the fast racing line, and we're going to look at consistency and lap time later on in this video, but in the footage I'm showing you here, I'm specifically showing you in corners how he is overtaking. Most drivers will wait and will not overtake at that hairpin, but Max Verstappen puts himself in a position where the other driver actually has to deviate from their line, and this is something we've seen time and time again. If you think back to Catalonia in the 2023 F1 season, where Carlos Sainz was ahead into the first corner at his home Grand Prix, Max Verstappen put Carlos Sainz in a position where Sainz had to back out, otherwise there would have been a crash. Now I do think this has led to a big flaw in Max Verstappen's driving, and that is he is so obsessed with dominating his line. It's something I don't think he will ever be able to change. It is completely ingrained in his DNA that he does make mistakes. So I'm going to show you in this footage some mistakes. I want you to see if you can spot when they're about to happen. And whilst these are definitely mistakes of Max, the takeaway here if you're a sim racer is if you want to be really fast and dominate, you need to dominate your line. You need to not treat the other cars with respect really. You need to say, I'm going to go into this gap, I'm going to place my car there, and it's your job to avoid me. And you can see in that instant there, Max was never in any real danger of getting spun out. The physics were on his side. The laws of physics and weight transfer were all on his side. He's very smart like that. He doesn't really put himself in bad positions. And that confidence actually exudes right through to the rear view mirror of the car in front. So if you're driving ahead and you see Max behind you or a car driving that confidently, it is subconsciously going to make you feel like you should actually get out of the way. Now, I've karted with some very, very, very fast international karters in my time, and they often will go to open sessions before or after our races and just race with the general public, just race with slower people and actually practice overtaking, practice dealing with drivers that might be a little bit unpredictable. And when Max Verstappen is coming up to lap someone like Logan Sargent or Nicholas Latifi, they might be a little bit unpredictable. But this is where it comes a cropper. Look at the little gap and space that Max Verstappen gives the cars ahead. He does not want to deviate from his line at all. He's already bumped the Corvette ahead of him. That's the car in the same class. There's an accident going ahead. He doesn't back out at all, and he doesn't want to go all the way over to the left-hand side. He wants to stick to his line, and then he absolutely maximises the braking in the next corner as well and almost hits the Corvette again. This is absolutely typical Max, and in fact, he basically forces the Corvette to get out of the way. That is the stature that you can impose on the racetrack, and I encourage you to try it if you're driving against AI cars. Now, I've experienced this because I've raced Max Verstappen, and I'm going to show you here what it's like to go alongside Max. So if you're watching at home and you do sim racing, place yourself as if you're the driver of the yellow car ahead. That's me. You can see my name on the back of it. And how would you deal with Max Verstappen in this situation? Because I'm not someone that is just going to pull out and get out of the way. That's not in my DNA if you know this channel. But you can see here, it actually ends badly for both of us because I didn't give way. Now, and I almost reversed into him. Now, is this a issue with Max's driving? Is this an issue with my driving? See, Max finds it very funny. Let me know here. I'm going to show you some replays. So again, we're thinking about Max's overtaking. We're thinking about this is a incredible strength he has to maintain that consistency by not deviating for his line. But it does have consequences if the cars ahead don't really get out of the way, sort of evaporate. We've seen this in F1 where everyone seems to make way for Max Verstappen. But what up if you go up against someone like myself, who is not driving dirtily, I would say, but you know, I'm entitled to be in that space, and you can see going head to head with Max Verstappen. But I'm very interested to hear your thoughts in the comments, how you would respond to going up against Max like that. Do you think it's a real strength of his driving? Do you think this actually is a fatal flaw that will start to cost him if he's in Formula One with a car that is not massively superior to every other car, so he'll be engaged in more wheel-to-wheel battles that he hasn't had to do in the last few years? I remember Max had a reputation early on. So I'm just going to show you this final slow motion of this instant here, so you can kind of, again, put yourself in my shoes. Can Max do anything different? Can I do anything different? Should Max adjust his driving? And then we're going to get on to things like braking and cornering and apexing and look at some of the actually otherworldly talents that Max have. But I find it interesting to think about the overtaking. I think that's why he does these races in iRacing. This is why I get to race against people like Max Verstappen, because they are basically sharpening their skills. This is like a skirmish for Max. And maybe this instant here has just been a little bit of information of Max. Maybe he will give people a little bit more space next time. I don't know. Or maybe I'm completely in the wrong for that. Maybe I should have given more space, evaporated, whatever. But that was quite an interesting one to show you. But what I want to show you now is consistent laps. And this ties into it because this is why Max Verstappen, I believe, is so hell-bent on maintaining his line. If you have a look at some of these laps here, I'm going to show you a whole lap board. You can see just how consistent he is, even with all this traffic. And in this particular race, it's a 24-hour race or a 23-hour race. Max was, I think, the most consistent driver. You see he's P2 in the race right now. And have a look at these lap times. I mean, some of them are ridiculously consistent. Considering there's traffic, you'd expect there to be a couple of seconds variance for most people because of, you know, dealing with the traffic, but Max Verstappen just doesn't suffer that time loss. Now I'm going to go through some really technical aspects now of Max Verstappen's driving in the sim. So if you're looking to get faster at sim racing, it doesn't get any better than this. I'm going to literally show you how Max Verstappen does it. I'm going to compare his driving against other elite sim racers, and I'm going to compare his driving against normal races as well. And there are some super easy techniques that Max is deploying and practicing that you'll be able to copy. And I'm not going to say you're going to become a Formula 1 world champion, but you'll definitely become a better driver by implementing these. So we're going to look at the braking phase, we're going to look at corner entry, how he deals in the mid-corner phase, and we're going to look at corner exit as well. And that is basically the fundamentals of driving. So firstly, I'm going to compare Max on the right with a sort of average sim racer here in the other car, and Max is just doing the fundamentals so well. But we'll look at the fine details in a bit. So he's braking in a straight line, comes off the brake, he's trail braking right now, and look how much of the track limits he uses compared to, let's say, the average driver. He's using all of the track limits, and then he's running super, super wide onto that exit curb. He's getting on that white line on the exit. And I want you to really remember that as we look at this footage. So now I'm comparing Max with Jardier on left side. Jardier is a super cool and fast esports sim racer. He's my teammate of Veloci. Now have a look at Max here. Max gets off the brake a little bit early. Look at the brake lights. That means he's trail braking a little bit more than Jardier, who's very, very, very fast. And Max just deals with the bump, and he does not deviate again from his objective of getting to the white line. Look how close Max Verstappen is to the white line left-hand side compared to Jardier. Jardier just with that bump, not quite maximising track limits on the exit because there's a bit of margin, because the car's bouncing around. By the way, Jardier, see, is P3 in this race. He's incredibly fast and a super cool streamer as well. So coming into the chicane here, I want you to look at the speed and look at where Max is focusing, to look at the mid-corner speed and the exit speed. Max taking a lot of the curb on the inside, so is Jardier. A little bit of brake in the middle there. It doesn't show up on Jardier's inputs. But look at the exit speed. So we've got 59.60. It's just a little bit faster on the exit speed for Max Verstappen. So Max Verstappen sacrificing speed on the way in and just getting a few miles an hour faster on the exit. And again, running all over the curb. So now I'm going to show you this is a different lap, by the way, with Jardier. And I just want to show you, this is Jardier absolutely on it. You can see that both cars are like battling for position. If you look at the positions, and it's very, very, very similar, actually, the lines that they are taking. And my point here is that Max is racing against some of the fastest sim racers in the world. So we've spoken about racing against slower people and practicing overtaking. This is an example of Max racing against super fast people and learning from them. Now, this is this lap from Max is so fast. So if you want to ever see a sim racing lap and be like, what should I be doing? This is blisteringly quick. I've gone down the lap times and this is the one, trust me. So have a look here. It's always hits the apex, hits the exit curb as well, maximizing track width, minimizing the lock applied on the car. He's not braking super, super late. He's really focusing on his entry. Again, hitting track limits. He's going all the way. Then he comes back over. He doesn't lazily stay on the right-hand side. He's coming into the chicane now. Really tight on the inside. Braking in a straight line. Hitting that curb. Maximizing track limits through the chicane. Hitting this curb as well. And he's going to be right on the outside here on that curb. Apex again on the outside. It is curb to curb. White line to white line. This lap is genuine perfection. Comes into the hairpin, turns in nice and early on the curb, rides the curb on the outside. Look how he's going to be annoyed that he's not able to use that inside curb. Going to go past the Mazda here, swoop in so he can brake in a straight line, not coming in at an angle. Goes over the curbs and last chicane. And if you have a look at the lap time here, it is if you know anything about this combo in this car, that is a scary lap time. And I actually recommend you watch that lap again and maybe put it at half speed on YouTube, because it is just, that lap is genuine sim racing perfection. And when you think that Max Verstappen is doing that so almost day in, day out, weekend in, weekend out, that is partly why he is heads and shoulders above anyone else in Formula One right now. And I actually believe that until we see other hardcore sim racers get up into F1, I don't think anyone's going to be able to challenge Max. I actually think he's operating on a level clear to basically every other Formula One driver, and I think he's a new generation of Formula One driver. So let me know your favourite tip you saw in this video. Have a look here for another video I did about Super GT, where there's so many tips for you to learn there. Obviously hit that subscribe button, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.